I'm going right for the most
Typically in
controversial one
favor.
here. Okay, what do you think of trans people?
Oh, dude, you're about to get me fired.
A wealth tax. I'm not like totally. I'm not against a wealth tax like totally or like in principle or anything, but a wealth tax is a distortionary tax. It'll like change the way people behave, and it's the worst type of distortionary tax because it's a distortionary tax on investment. You're directly taxing accumulating wealth, and then it is also. Has anyone ever said "God of the gaps" to you?
Yeah, I generally hate this kind of arguments.
All right, hold on. Hollow Husk. I'm not a Zionist, okay? So now that the other guy left, now I can ride you hard. Although I'm gonna agree with you way more than I agree with the other guy. Hold on. Move to streamer.
Yo, what
Hello.
up?
What's up, man?
Not
All right.
much. I'm up at 1 in the morning. So,
Oh well,
life is
yeah.
great.
So am I.
Hell yeah.
So basically, I have a question. Okay. Basically,
Yeah.
do you think it was fair? I understand Palestinians have never had like an official state, right? Like it was always like the mandate, and the mandate included like parts of Syria and stuff, right? And Jordan. So I understand that.
Even when there was like Palestinians, they weren't like a united group either. It was like disparate like tribes.
Yeah. So
like,
yeah, sure. I understand. Like from like just what I've read, it doesn't seem like Palestinians had like a super cohesive national identity. Back in '48. Yeah, like it. Yeah. But like I see. I understand the Zionists felt like they had justification for going to Palestine because of the Balfour Declaration and the British essentially let them. But like going to a place. The reality is there was a land with Arabs living there, and they felt like they had, worked on that land for a while. They felt like they had some connection to that land. Jewish people moving there with like an intention of forming their own state, seems a little messed up to you, doesn't it? Or does it not?
No. I think if it was like, hey, let's go here, like kill all the people and then like steal like their land, then yeah, that would obviously be wrong and messed up. But it's like, I know you don't care about like the history, but I personally do. Like if we went to
Well, hold on,
like
hold on. Just to clarify, like I don't care about the history when talking about like the modern conflict, because the reality is whether or not Jews had a right to move there in '48, they're there now. Okay, so but if we're talking about the history, then we can like talk about the history. Like
yeah, but like if we were to like let's say like kick out like the Arabs from Arabia, and like 1,000 years later, the Arabs say, "Hey, I want to go back to our historic homeland." I'd say that's fair. Like, I'd say it's totally justified.
I think it's totally fair for them to go back to their historic homeland. I'm pro like freedom of movement of people like everywhere generally. But to like try to go back there and form your own state, I can understand like the Arab grievance with that.
Yeah, I get it. I don't know. I just think that because of that historic connection to that land, that therefore, yeah, they have a right to have their own state in that land because it's their land historically, and they were kicked out of that land. They were unjustly kicked out.
Yeah, but that was like if you go back far enough to like any like land, someone was unjustly kicked out somewhere, right?
That's fair.
Like yeah. So I feel like I'll blame the British way more than I blame any of the Zionists, because the British, yeah, essentially promised the same land to two people. Now you can get into a bunch of arguments over it, but whether because people will say, right, well, the Arabs did get a state. It's just that they got multiple states. And the Jewish people just got this one tiny state here. Like Jordan got their own state, Syria got its own state. I don't know, but the reality is, like, the Arab people felt like they had justification for this land. Like they felt like the British gave it to them, and then they basically didn't respect it.
And I'm saying that justification is not really that good.
Okay. Well, I mean, like
I don't think it was British like land to like bargain away. I don't think it was their right to bargain away that land, like hand it over to like the like Arabs. I don't think that they like had that right.
I mean, it was their mandate, right? Like after they won the World War. After they got it from the Ottomans.
I mean, yeah, but quite frankly, I just like don't care.
Okay. I just don't. Yeah, I don't really care about like the historical connection to land that much. Like, I care about like the people there now and like how they feel. So, like, if people are in Palestine, regardless of whether or not 1,000 years ago, like people were unjustly kicked out, like I care about if the people in Palestine have a connection to that land, and I care about how they feel now. And it seems like there were plenty of people like in Palestine who, even if they didn't have a super cohesive national identity, even if they were more either just part of like a family or like part of the Arab identity, seems like they had some connection to that land. And I think the like early Zionists tried to like intentionally like form their own state, which I don't think necessarily means expelling Arabs, but they did try to have a demographic majority, right?
My preferred like solution would just be like one state, like ran by the both of them in like a democratic kind of thing,
I understand, but well, that gets into more modern stuff, which we can talk about.
I get that it's not like realistic, but I think that's the preferred way of
it's hard to know because, like I said, like no negotiations have ever been like this one state thing. I don't know. It seems like Palestinians, regardless of like whether or not they're justified, again, it seems like they feel like they have a national identity now, and they've been kind of robbed of statehood, which I mean, obviously they're the ones that have rejected the partitions and stuff before, but
yeah, it's kind of where my sympathy for them like runs a bit dry. It's like they had literally every single opportunity to create their own state, and yet they've turned it down at every single turn.
Yeah, so I mean, I will mostly agree with that. The one thing I will say, it's just like from the reading I read, it seems like there have been times where basically Palestinians have tried to negotiate, and then political tides in Israel kind of change, and like maybe a new prime minister gets elected who like found the previous deal too generous. So I can pull up my notes, but
if you want to like link those to like in like the chat or in like my DMs or something,
hold on, let me pull up my notes. Israel, Palestine, two-state. Okay. Most of it is just from this one article. I'll just put it in general in this server. That I read, a Substack post. So it says, during the Oslo period, the Perez and Rabin government never held final status talks. It doesn't go into why. Maybe they had good reason. Then Israel elected a prime minister who opposed the whole idea of a Palestinian state. And then it says, in 2000 and 2001, and again in 2008, Palestinian leaders were summoned by the United States to attend summits with lame duck Israeli leaders who were sinking into polls and on the verge of losing power. So like it seems like there have been times where like Israel has tried to negotiate, but then because of like political tides, things changed. And like I can understand, like if you're negotiating with someone and then you feel like you're on good terms, and then a new leader gets elected, and they're like, well, that deal you were negotiating was too generous. Here's a less generous deal. Like, it seems reasonable to be kind of upset at that.
Yeah, I can actually see that, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I need to do more reading, because I know there's especially that one quote that people like to mention from like one of the Israeli ministers where they'll say like, oh, if I was Palestinian, I wouldn't have accepted this deal. And people like to fucking quote that into
honestly, I don't think quotes really like matter that much. Like I always see people quote mining and shit, and it's like
it's literally it's literally like, oh well, here's an Israeli leader saying something bad about Palestinians, and it's like, okay, well, can you acknowledge that for every one of those quotes there's a million other quotes where they say we're trying to protect civilians? And it's like, well, yeah, but this quote's more important because Israel's bombing civilians. It's like, okay,
Or
well, now you're looking at the actions. You're not just looking at the quote. So like, let's just look at the actions. And the reality is the actions show Israel's trying to minimize civilian casualties. Like, yeah.
Or you could also point out how Hamas has stated multiple times that their goal is to wipe out and kill the Jews.
Yeah, well, but yeah, people just say like, oh, well, the Palestinians try negotiating. How'd that go
it's
for them?
justified.
Yeah, I don't know. People are insane, but
yeah.
But I like. It seems like let's say, fucking Abbas in the West Bank basically says, hey, if you get rid of Hamas and hand over the Gaza Strip to us, I'll accept a 2-state solution on the like 67 borders. Like, you would be chill with that, though, right? Like, it seems like.
Sorry.
Like, let's say that Abbas has a change of heart all of a sudden in the West Bank, and he basically is perfectly willing to accept like a 2-state solution with like we'll say like some settlements get annexed into Israel, and they'll do like land swaps. Like, it seems like would you be okay with that, or would you?
Yeah, I'd actually be totally fine with that.
Yeah, okay. So it just seems like, obviously I understand like your preferred solution, but you'd still be chill with.
I mean, yeah, I what was I gonna say? Damn it. I feel like that because of that historic connection that they therefore like do have a right to like a state there. I mean, not that they should like kill all the Palestinians.
Sure. Yeah, but I mean, they already have. When they have a state, some parts of it. Obviously not the Judea and Samaria, the West Bank, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't care about historical connections that much.
I'm curious as to like why. Like, I don't know. If the Germans were kicked out of Germany, like, would you say that like the Germans wouldn't have a right to go back to their homeland and like establish a state?
It would depend on like how long they had been gone for. Like, I don't know. Like, it just seems like the facts on the ground are gonna matter more to me than like this sort of nebulous historical connection. Yeah.
So it's like the time frame.
Yeah, it's like the time, because the world just doesn't work. Like, because like I said, at one point every piece of land was like unjustly taken for someone, and it seems like at some point we kind of just have to say, okay, well, this is who it belongs to now. Like, if Russia held on to Crimea for 80 years, then I think at that point it'd be fair to say, okay, well, fuck, you have to just say, well, maybe it wasn't necessarily fair that they did this, but it has to be Russian at this point, because the world just doesn't work otherwise.
Curious as to what like an acceptable time frame is.
It's just gonna depend on like the facts on the ground.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know. But I would say like Israel's definitely met that like standard of whatever it is. The Israeli people being there since like the 1880s when they first started immigrating have definitely like met that standard. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that the main concern, though, is like because Jews historically have been one of the most like oppressed groups of people, and I mean, I think the only way for them to really protect themselves is to have their own like state.
Yeah, so that's definitely like
try to kill them at least like once.
Yeah, I mean, if any ethnicity is deserving of a state, like, it's Jewish people, right? Because they've obviously been persecuted. Yeah, like forever. Yeah. So like that part I'm sympathetic to. Yeah.
Man. Damn, I think I'm trying to beat the topic dead already.
Yeah, well, we didn't. If you were pro-Palestinian, we would have disagreed on more, but
yeah.
You don't live in Israel, right? You just said you're an American.
I'm an American, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm from the Midwest.
Wow. I hope you're enjoying the stream.
Dude, definitely. Like half like half an hour ago, I got called like a racist for being like pro-Israel and shit. So that
Yeah,
was really,
I've had
really funny.
yeah, I've had people block me for my pro-Israel team. It's insane. Yeah, I don't know. It's wild. Yeah, I got called. Someone said you're actually so white, it's disgusting, and then blocked me.
Based.
It's like, oh, okay. That was interesting when that happened.
Any other topics, or is that?
That's kind of what I'm doing right now. I don't know, man. But you can stay in the server. I'm sure there's plenty of things that we can find to disagree on.
Definitely. Are you more of like a lib? Are you like a lib shit?
Yep.
Oh, that's nasty as hell.
What are you? Are you?
I am a conservative socialist.
Okay. So how old are you? Are you gonna vote?
I am 18 years of age. I'll probably vote for Biden, in all honesty.
Okay, based.
But
here's
like the conundrum I'm in, right?
Yeah, sure.
Because like if I vote for Trump, like his economics is just shit. But like I feel like I generally agree with like a lot of his like cultural aims more.
Yeah, so are you just saying like you're economically left leaning and like socially conservative?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, fuck. Okay, so the problem is I'm not that economically right wing. I'm like, I consider myself to be. So when you say socialist, can you go into more detail?
I want worker ownership over the means of production.
Like totally. And what does that mean exactly? Do you mean like worker co-ops, or do you mean like the government owns it on behalf of the people? Okay.
I think both are fine. I would want a mix of the two, just so you don't get like a Soviet style kind of shit. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're saying like, so there can still be McDonald's and Burger King. It's just that they're owned by the workers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the view I'm most sympathetic to. I used to be that.
Yeah.
But I feel like, okay, so when you say like socially conservative, do you think weed should be legalized?
Do I think weed should be legalized?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say.
Okay. What about, so what's a like socially conservative view that you have?
I think more of like traditional values and stuff like that, like God and country and such.
Okay. I'm going right for the most controversial one here. Okay, what do you think of trans people?
Oh, dude, you're about to get me fired. I don't think they're valid.
All of them, or like you think all of them?
I think it's a legitimate like mental issue, but I think it's that a mental issue.
So when you say like mental issue, like there's definitely a mental issue going on, right? It's just that like it seems like that mental issue is that like their gender doesn't align with their sex, like their brain doesn't align with their body.
Yeah, I think that's like a mental. That just sounds like a mental illness to me.
Okay, what's the fix for it?
I think that can vary from like. Yeah, sorry, I have a stutter.
Oh yeah, don't worry, I have a horrible speech impediment.
Yeah, therapy to like drugs to, like even like a sex change.
Yeah, sex change, exactly. So
that's what I'm kind of like.
That's what trans people are.
Yeah, like, I'm kind of like wary to like validate that though, because I think it's like a delusion.
When you say so, I guess like it seems like you would acknowledge, like if I were to physically put your brain in a woman's body, like you would still feel like a man, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems like trans people, like a lot of trans people, like you can even see this in differences in their brains. Like a lot of trans people seem to like feel like they're in the wrong body, and like the solution is just to make the body match what the brain says.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I typically agree. I just I don't want to sound a bit cringe here, but I think we've gone a bit like too far with it. You know, you know what I mean?
I wouldn't like totally disagree because I'm very much like what I just said is very much like they call it like a trans medicalist view, right? Where it's not like I would never say identifying as a woman is what makes you a woman. I don't think that's true. I think more or less some people are born and their gender identity in their brain just doesn't match what their body says, and the solution to that is make the body match what the brain says. That's very much like a trans medicalist view. So like this camp of like identifying as a woman is what makes you a woman. Like I don't agree with that. I don't even think in that sense people have gone quote unquote too far.
Yeah.
I guess are you worried? So you said like you value traditional values, right? So like yeah. So like with like trans stuff and also like gay marriage, are you worried that it's like a perversion on traditional values or something?
Yeah, I mean not that I hate like gay people. I mean many of my best friends are gay, but it's like I think that yeah, it's a perversion of traditional values. Yeah.
So you don't think do you think gay marriage should be allowed at least?
I'm gonna throw it out there. Probably not. I lean towards no. I'm not like 100% one way or the other.
But... Yeah, so just like I could understand like some objections where you would say like, well, I don't think we should make like religious organizations marry gay people. I think that can be fair, but like I'm a big fan of tolerance, okay? So like it seems like we should be relatively tolerant of like if gay people exist and they want to marry men, they want to marry each other. It seems like a secular government should be able to permit that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my main thing is yeah, like the perversion of like the institution of marriage.
I mean,
I think that like what like traditionally is like between like a man and a woman.
So I would, you know, I mean, I just like I don't really care about the appeal to tradition because it's just like the reality is it seems like people are better off. Like I don't see, like it seems like gay people get a lot better off if they're allowed marriage equality, and then it seems like it doesn't really harm straight people to do that.
Yeah, I mean, and if like you want to take the position of like, hey, it should be like allowed, but like don't force like churches to affirm that. Honestly, I can live with that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm a big liberal, tolerant guy. Okay, so
hell yeah, based in America, pilled.
True, I am American filled. I'm so American filled. It's wild.
Hell yeah. Love
oh well, you were the guy. I said like the West has essentially good values, right? And you agreed with that.
Immediately agreed. Yeah, I think the West has amazing values. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big Jesus. Yeah. But I think we were talking about fucking NATO and Ukraine, and I basically said, well, it seems like the West has some good values that at bare minimum are worth defending. Like it doesn't mean we necessarily go try to impose them in every other country on earth, but it seems like they're good to like defend.
Yeah. I generally agree. I actually see like conservatives are kind of like split on like the Ukraine issue.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, which is frankly weird.
Yeah. Well, what's your Ukraine war take?
I'm pro-Ukraine.
Based.
I think that American interests are the world's interests.
I mean, I would mostly agree with that, yeah. I mean, it seems like most of the time.
Where is it? I mean, sure, we've had like mishaps, but
yeah,
I think that it's no coincidence that every single government that the U.S. has like gone up against has been like comedically evil.
Yeah, but
like the Chinese, the Russian government and the like Iranian government and shit like that.
Yeah, like it seems like sometimes though, like especially during the Cold War, like we were willing to do fucked up shit to stand up to the Russians, right? Like like all the like I don't know if you've read about like Pinochet is like the worst one that people like to bring up. The coup in Chile in 1973, where we basically put a fascist in charge just because we didn't want a Marxist in charge of Yeah. It seemed like there were like democratic countries who like had left-leaning governments, and we didn't like that, so we did coups in them. That seemed pretty bad. They're definitely. I think Vietnam was like a especially bad one. Because we literally like first intervened in Vietnam like right after World War II to like try to help France reconquer its colony. That's pretty. That's pretty fucked up. If it eventually became like fighting the Russians, like that's a little bit more justified, but like Jesus, man, literally trying to help an ally reestablish a colony. That's I don't like that.
Yeah, as I've said, we have had our missteps, but I think generally the United States is a pretty good country.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, fuck, if you want to compare that to like the Soviets, dude, like holy shit.
Yeah.
What they did is like the Hungarians, like damn.
I just
the Hungarians, like the Czechs.
You say you're economically like left leaning though. Oh wait, hold on. We covered social conservatives. So like economically left leaning. I'm curious. Have you I mean you I understand how this sounds.
Am I a Nazbol?
I'm just I'm going to say something that people say against socialism a lot, and I think it's a totally unfair critique of socialism. Okay, but I'm genuinely just asking this because I want to know your prior knowledge base. Have you taken like an economics class before?
I have not. No.
Okay, but I mean, you've taken like you went to high school, right? Like did you do like some basic stuff?
Currently a senior in high school.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I took like a finance class into. Like, I'm not like a complete noob.
Yeah, sure. So, do you know what? I'm going to say a few. Do you know what a land value tax is?
Land value? No, I do not.
Okay, damn.
Not
do you know?
with
But are you in favor of a wealth tax?
Yeah.
Okay, fuck you. No. So,
wow.
This is my problem with socialist. Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm.
With a wealth tax. Okay, a wealth tax is what we call like distortionary tax. Basically, fuck. I wish I had my presentations I made for economics class, but my school shut down my account.
Damn, dude.
I know. Well, it's because I graduated a semester early, so I graduated like in January.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, a whole semester early. Yeah. And basically, a distortionary tax is just one that's going to change people's behavior, right? So like the general rule is like if you tax something, you're going to get less of it, right? So like if you tax work, people are going to work less. Now, there are different levels of this. So like elasticity is like the measure of like how much like a behavior will change in response to something. So it's easy to explain with like goods, right? So like we would say something like jelly beans demand is more elastic than insulin. Insulin, no matter the price of insulin, you're gonna buy insulin, right? Versus like jelly beans, if the price of jelly beans goes up, you're not buying as many jelly beans. So those are examples of like distortion, right? So a wealth tax, I'm not against a wealth tax like totally or like in principle or anything, but a wealth tax is a distortionary tax. It'll like change the way people behave, and it's the worst type of distortionary tax because it's a distortionary tax on investment. You're directly taxing accumulating wealth, right? So a land value tax is a tax on the value of land. Without getting too far into it, the reason this is so based, and even Marx was for it, Marx wrote about a land value tax, and he said he liked it, is that land is perfectly inelastic. You can't make less land. So it doesn't distort incentives in that way. And like, so I would say generally, I'm in favor of non-distortionary taxes before we try to make distortionary taxes. So I'm not totally against a wealth tax, but I think before we do a wealth tax, we should try to do non-distortionary taxes like a land value tax. That's basically where I'm at.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
No, I just wasn't really like familiar with like.
No, sure. Yeah. I wasn't familiar with this stuff 2 weeks ago, man. So
that's fair. What are your thoughts on like a Georgism and like shit and like shit?
Well, Georgism is a land value tax.
Yeah, usually only tax land.
I don't think we should only tax land. I mean, if we could only tax land and still provide, like all the government services we do, it would be based. Yeah, but I don't know. Like, I would consider myself with George's in that, like, I want non-distortionary taxes on like land and like resource rent tax, where you're just charging the super profits. Like Australia charges like or taxes like the super profits of mining companies, because like they didn't create that wealth, right? That minerals are already there, and like you can't make less into minerals. So, yeah, I think we should try that before doing like distortionary taxes. But there are things like Social Security. It kind of makes sense for Social Security to be a payroll tax, to tax people and put that money in a fund, and then later they get that money when they retire. That kind of makes sense. Even though a payroll tax is distortionary, but not that distortionary, since like people don't really work less because of Social Security. Like people, like no one says that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where I'm at. That's my lib shit brain.
I think that my issue is overall with like how like wealthier people tend to like act, and it's like not like a wealthier like middle class person, but like the like uber rich, where they just like keep their money like stocked up in like other shit in like foreign bank accounts or in like the stock market. And that kind of pisses me off.
Yeah,
it's like,
I mean, it definitely
like
because
that money, you could be helping out a lot of people with that money, and no, you're just keeping it there, not doing anything with it. Yeah, fuck
so
you.
there's
we should like seize that money.
There's two. If you ever take an economics class, you're gonna hear these terms. Okay, so there's two like good concepts you're hitting on. So one is like the propensity to save versus the propensity to consume. So that's just if you get like money, how likely are you to spend it or save it? So billionaires have a very high propensity to save because they're billionaires. If they get extra money, what can they possibly buy with that money that they don't already have? Like they already have super yachts and stuff. So they have a very high propensity to save, which sometimes can be good for the economy, sometimes can be bad. And secondly, it's just a concept called marginal utility, which like you probably intuitively understand. So basically, as you get more of something, it becomes marginally less valuable to you. So like your 10th pizza slice is not as valuable to you as your first pizza slice, right? And then like for billionaires, their $50 billionth dollar is not as valuable to them as the first $10,000, right? So this is a like really good argument for like progressive taxation. Because like especially when you get to like uber wealthy people, the dollars to them are marginally so meaningless because like you can imagine like the difference between having $150,000 and $200,000 is like a decent change in your quality of life. But then like the difference between having $100 billion and $150 billion, there's basically no change in quality of life there because you can already afford everything that you possibly want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's like that's a good argument for like a progressive tax system, and yeah, especially on billionaires.
Yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at. I see them like just hoarding more and more wealth, and it's like we have more people that need that money that could use like better like healthcare, better like infrastructure, better education, and it's like, yeah, I don't think these wealthy people need that money anyway.
Yeah, it's just it's marginally totally like it's useless for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else. So, I don't know. Worker co-op gets into a whole thing. I'm not like I like worker co-op. I think democratic ownership can be pretty cool sometimes. It seems like from there are a lot of studies saying like they're either just as productive or sometimes more productive. And like the workers there seem to be happier and stuff. And it like I think wage labor probably has some like bad incentives for it, right? Because you're not like invested in the company at all. You're just there and working, so it doesn't really matter if you do a good job or not. You're getting paid the same either way. Whereas like with a worker co-op, you theoretically have an incentive in the country. Sorry, someone just said, how can billionaire savings be good for the economy? It basically, This is into a whole lot of stuff. Basically, like when billionaires save, they're like investing in stocks and stuff, right? That's what you do with saved money. And the argument is, funny word, this it trickles down basically.
Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Saving is it also lowers the interest rate. If you save money, saving money lowers the interest rate because there's more loanable funds that banks have, basically. So it lowers the interest rate for everybody, and then that makes businesses able to invest more and stuff. So it's okay. Basically, some people will argue you need saving for investment, because again, if you save money, that does two things. One, it lowers the interest rate, and two, depending on how you save, that is investment, because like it really, like when people save money, they can buy stocks and they try to keep it. They try to, keep it saved against inflation. And then there's also something called the paradox of thrift. Basically, if everybody starts saving and stops spending money, then businesses don't have anyone buying their products, right? Effective demand goes down, and that will in turn reduce total savings because businesses will fail and go out of business. Yeah. So those are the two competing theories of like whether or not we need more saving or less saving. I think we need less saving. I think I'm a base Keynesian, and I think people should spend their money.
Based. Keynes was based. I love that guy.
I love Keynes. I was reading some Keynes stuff earlier today. Although there's some stuff you would like, because there was a Keynesian critique of the labor theory of value.
What was his critique?
I need to, honestly, anything to do with value, I don't fully understand yet. I need to read a lot more into it. But basically, there were 7 points that he listed, and I can click on the maybe.
I like how the emoji for Keynes is like the sweaty guy.
Sweaty emoji. Yeah.
Bro gets like hot and bothered.
Okay. So
Lord Keynes.
Yeah, there's this blogger who just goes by Lord Keynes, and nobody knows anything about him. He just wrote a bunch of Keynesian stuff and left the internet. He's so based. He said, one, a priori argument for the labor theory of value in volume 1 of Marx's Capital is a non sequitur and later contradicts itself. So I think this was I want to see if I can remember if I look in my notes. He made a new Twitter account. I think it didn't necessarily. Oh, okay. So basically, Marx tried to like say because goods were being exchanged, that basically means goods must have like some homogeneous or some like fundamental unit of value that's based in labor time, but it doesn't like necessarily follow that there's a homogeneous labor time in which commodities are being measured. And then he even admits in Capital that some societies trade things only on use value. Yeah, so it seems like that's a flaw. And then 2, Marx faces the problem of reducing all heterogeneous human labor into a homogeneous, socially necessary labor time unit, but he doesn't properly explain how that happens. 3, even if Marx could overcome 1 and 2, he faces the problem of defining labor value in cases of joint production, where it is possible for the labor value of a commodity might be undefined, nil, or negative. I need to read more into that because I want an example of that. I don't really know what that means yet. 4, there is no reason why free human wage labor should have special power that animals, slaves, machines do not. Yeah. And then 5, modern fiat money refutes Marx's theory and also his labor theory of value, since in his theory, money must be a produced commodity, but now that's no longer the case because it's just fiat money. Because money used to be like based on gold, and that was a produced commodity, but now it's just a fiat currency. There's nothing backing it up. 6, the empirical reality that prices are not set by means of the abstract socially necessary labor time of commodities or of money produced Oh, sorry. The empirical reality is that prices are not set by the means of abstract socially necessary labor time of commodities or of money as produced as a commodity. And 7, the problem that surplus labor value, even if that concept could be adequately defined, would not really explain money profits, since money profits can exist in a slave-based economy and very probably even in an economy where machines did most of the work. I only understand like half of those points, but I need to keep reading into it.
Yeah.
But it is. But I'm talking to my chat. Like if I say something weird, use your intuition and think. And no, I'm talking to my chat. But it is money. But the point is, like it's fiat money now. And Marx, why is Marx relevant in the 21st century? I don't necessarily think he is super relevant. I think some of his stuff definitely like isn't wrong or anything. But like, I don't know what point you're trying to make. Yeah, that's basically. Those are the 7 problems with Marxist labor theory of value. I bet you feel ethically owned now.
Dude, I just got so owned.
Yeah. But I need to read more into it. Do you know who Unlearning Economics is?
That sounds familiar.
He's a YouTuber. He does stuff about economics. He's pretty left leaning. But do you know who Thomas Sowell is?
Yeah, it does also sound familiar.
Yeah, Thomas Sowell is a very right leaning economist, and like he just did a video debunking him.
I think I have seen this guy. Yeah.
He also has a video on value that goes over why he thinks the labor theory of value is wrong, and it also goes over why he thinks like the marginal productivity theory, which is a theory of value that like more right leaning people want to use. He goes over why he thinks that's wrong too.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an hour long, but I mean, if you have time to watch it at some point.
I love hour-long videos. They're like my favorite pastime.
Dude, I love fucking 8-hour video essays on
fucking obscure ass topics. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Jesus. Okay. You know, you're religious, right? You're a Christian,
Yeah, I'm an Orthodox Christian. Yep.
Boo. I'm a epic atheist.
Dude, maybe you should get off Reddit.
I love Reddit. I will never get off Reddit. I love Reddit.
So when you say like you're like an atheist, are you like one of those like Voshite? Like anything that's like Vosh. Religious is inherently bad, or it's like, hey,
no, I don't think any. I don't think. Do you know who Sam Harris is?
Yeah, unfortunately.
When it comes to religion, I align with Sam Harris decently closely. I don't think everything religious is inherently bad or anything. I just don't believe in the truth claim of it. And I'll say, like, to clarify, I'm an agnostic atheist. So, like, I don't believe anyone can prove it. It's proved the existence of God. And certainly not me, who doesn't understand all the arguments fully. But yeah.
Yeah, the most like basic. Are you familiar with like the cosmological argument?
Yeah.
Yeah, my justification is basically that, like that, because like something has to have caused like what we like experience now. Therefore, there has to be something, whether that's like an entity in essence, or like a god, or like a spaghetti monster, or just like something of that.
So that's it. The first thing you mentioned, like the cosmological argument, right? So
yeah.
The first thing is that gives me just as much reason to believe in the spaghetti monster as it does Yahweh, right? And I think I think it's like fair to say, like, if you suppose the existence of God, like presuppose the existence of God with the argument, I think there definitely are arguments that you can make that the Christian God is the correct God. Shit, you walked into. I was researching religion earlier today. Okay.
Wow.
So, first, basically, I like the first cause doesn't. I don't think it necessarily follows that it has to be a personal God. It seems like it could be some immaterial thing that happened, I don't necessarily see why that immaterial thing has to be God. Secondly,
mind if I elaborate?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, basically the point of the cosmological argument is not necessarily to prove like the Christian God particularly, but just to establish that there has to be some sort of entity that is above reality in and of itself.
Yeah. So
not necessarily. I mean, if you want to get into like specific arguments with like the Christian God, I mean, I'm not too well versed in it, but
yeah. Well, I mean, a big thing that you would probably point to is like the historical evidence for the resurrection of Christ. But yeah. So okay. I'm going to go through my bullet points here.
Sorry, I just wanted to elaborate that so you're not like under the assumption
that I think
the theological argument proves like the Christian God in particular.
Yeah, sure. That was just what like one of my like it does give me as much reason to believe in a flying spaghetti monster. But so number one, it relies on a meteorological assumption that stuff begins to exist. Have you seen that Vsauce video? What is a chair?
I have not actually.
Oh, so basically, how we define things existing is like really, 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 really hard. And basically, I don't know if I necessarily totally agree with this, but basically, you could argue that nothing begins to exist. Everything is just a rearrangement of matter. But I don't think that's the biggest problem. It's just like the argument does rely on an assumption that things begin to exist. And secondly, I think the bigger problem is that it's something called composition fallacy. So just because causality exists within the universe, it doesn't necessarily follow that the universe itself had to have a cause. The universe itself could have always been a thing. Yeah. And then it is also. Has anyone ever said God of the gaps to you?
Yeah, I generally hate those kind of arguments.
It is. I mean, it is somewhat of a God of the gaps thing because it's like we don't have a scientific understanding for why the universe exists, but it's definitely not impossible to that we could have an answer one day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, is that your entire?
Yeah, those are my 4 bullet points. Yeah.
Let me think for a minute. I'm gonna do a little more thinking. Huh? Yeah, I don't know how to combat that.
Yeah, I don't like. I'm not gonna fault you for not being like super well versed. Like, yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, I'm not super well versed. There's definitely Christians that could beat me in the debate because I'm not that well versed in these.
Do you know Jay Dyer by any chance?
I feel like I've heard the name.
Oh, he's an Orthodox like Christian debater.
Wait, how do you spell his name?
Jay, and then Dyer. Yeah. He's kind of a dick,
definitely,
frankly, the person I wouldn't be friends with, like personally, but
yeah, I've definitely seen. I think I've seen short form content of this guy, like either on my Instagram Reels or something. Yeah.
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 He more so goes for like the moral argument.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like, well, how could you define like ethics to like begin with?
Yeah, but that doesn't. I mean, even if it. So I don't know if you've read Sam Harris's stuff. Sam Harris is big on like defining morality without religion, and but even if you couldn't do that, even if like ethics was impossible without God, I don't think it necessarily proves God. We wouldn't have we wouldn't have objective moral values. But
yeah.
Fuck, I need to.
I think the argument goes along though that it's like I think that I mean you go across every like civilization. I mean there was like some sort of code of conduct that was roughly the same, right?
Yeah. I mean, it seems like
more or less.
It seems like people definitely have like moral intuitions, right? So like we can kind of have like a feeling of whether or not something is right or wrong, like morally speaking. And I think, a lot of people wrote those down and called it, and in religious text. It seems like religion was used to codify a lot of those intuitions.
Not really. I mean, yeah,
You don't think so?
it also served that purpose, but that wasn't like the mere point of it.
I don't think it was like the sole purpose of it or anything, but
Okay.
like, yeah, that's just like my explanation for like why like a bunch of religious codes seem to have like the same type of like moral values in it.
So how would you begin to explain that moral intuition? I mean, especially because I personally think that like I kind of reject that like human like behavior is based off of like biology. I think it's mostly of like the culture that someone grows up in, personally. But
well, I think with this specifically, it does. Some of it does have to do with well, some of it is definitely culture. So some of it's culture, some of it's biology. Basically, we know that like even from studies we've done, like chimpanzees will refuse to eat in order to so that their cage mate doesn't get shocked. They will literally take some suffering for themselves in the form of not eating so that their fellow chimpanzee doesn't have to suffer. So it seems reasonable that like for some reason like we evolved some like intuitions about like fairness. Like it's just basically instinct. And then secondly, some of it is definitely cultural. Like if you're raised in a society that finds something's wrong, like you'll grow up learning that those things are like wrong, and you'll just have like these feelings about things when they happen in front of you. Like, yeah.
Well, I think you can also look at like, let's say like Aztec culture, where it was like the killing of people was like normal and shit.
Yeah.
And
like it seems like that was definitely like part of the cultural stuff. Like they didn't view it as wrong because it was just so normalized to them, like from an early age. Yeah.
Which, I mean, they're kind of an exception to like the rule.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's you. I mean, you said it's 2 a.m. for you too now, right?
Yeah, it's 2:30. Dude, and I have to work at 3. Damn it. To work
at 3
p.m.
p.m.
Yeah, 3 p.m. tomorrow, and it's like, damn.
Oh yeah,
because when I sleep in, I sleep in like.
Oh, I sleep for 12 hours almost every day.
Dude, based.
Yeah, ever since I graduated, I wake up and I stream for a while, and then I do nothing, and then go to sleep for 12 hours, and wake up and stream again. It's great. It's such a healthy lifestyle. Why would I get a job when I can just do this all day?
That is bound to get sad, like eventually.
I probably will. I think like it's just I don't know. For whatever reason, I super like streaming, and I don't really know why. I think part of it is like I can get like some type of like consistent like dopamine from it, because I get dopamine every time somebody likes my YouTube video or every time somebody follows. Which is like if I have a job, like I don't get I don't get a guy twerking every time someone follows me at a job. So like there's just no like consistent dopamine reward cycle.
You can get abused by old people though, like instead.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. Like think about this logically, right? Like, do you want the easy dopamine hit or like abused by boomers all day?
Dude, that's a tough one, man.
Real.
Speaking, you know what I fucking did instead of getting a job? I made a podcast episode where I joined I clickbaited it because it didn't get views when I didn't clickbait it, but it's still not getting views even though I clickbaited it. Dude, I took 2 days off of streaming to make this fucking video, and it got 15 views. It's so rigged.
That is so unfortunate.
So rigged. I know.
You have a podcast called The Deep State Liberal?
Deep State Liberal, yep.
Oh, it's misspelled.
What do you mean it's misspelled? It's Deep State.
When I click like more, it says says like Deep State Liberal.
Oh shit, it does. Oh shit.
It is misspelled.
Oh shit. What the fuck? Hold on. No. How do I edit it? No, fuck. Details. Nope, it's fixed. You were gaslighting me the whole time.
Yeah, I was.
Why did nobody? Kyle, why didn't you tell me? Mods, mods, why no one tell me?
Bro was so excited for that video just to bell deep state.
God fucking damn it. God fucking damn it. Yeah.
Wait, did you have a debate with Andrew Wilson?
Not the Andrew Wilson you're thinking of, but his name does happen to be Andrew Wilson.
Damn, I thought she'd argue with like Big Papa Fascist.
No.
So I actually kind of like that guy a bit. He can be a bit like out there sometimes, but you know, I think generally he has some good opinions.
No, not yeah. It's so convenient that his name is Andrew Wilson though, because it's good clickbait and it got 400 views. All right, well,
dude.
fuck, what time is it? I know what time it is. I've been streaming 5 hours. Okay. Well, I'm gonna head out and I'm gonna end stream, man.
All right, it was nice.
But it's been
talking to you.
Yeah, it's been nice talking. I'm sure we'll talk again. And
oh yeah,
yeah, stay in the Discord server, and
definitely
you can
will.
Yeah, and the Minecraft server too if you ever want to play that. It's up 24/7. I spent $30 on the server. I'm trying to build a community. Okay, so I got to get
I'm not much of a Minecraft guy except for Bed Wars.
Sure, yeah.
So if you ever want to play Bed Wars with somebody,
well, it'll always be there. It'll be an option. I play it just so I have something to do on stream, like while I'm watching a video. But yeah. All right. Well, bye, chat. See ya.